At Narita Airport in Tokyo, 3 hours after my father's funeral, my mother and brother canceled my ticket and left me stranded in Japan with no passport, no phone, and no way home. As I stood there breaking down at the airline counter, a man in an expensive suit leaned close and whispered 4 words that would change everything. "Trust me, they'll regret this." I should have seen it coming. But grief has a way of making you blind to the worst in people. My father had died 2 weeks earlier. Heart attack at 61. Too young, too sudden, and it left a gaping hole in all our lives. Or so I thought. Dad had been obsessed with Japan since his college semester abroad. He'd always said when he died, he wanted his ashes scattered at Mount Fuji. So there we were, me, my mother Linda, and my younger brother Derek, a family trip to honor Dad's final wish. The ceremony at the mountain had been beautiful in a devastating way. I'd cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Derek had put his arm around me. Mom had held my hand. For those few hours, we felt like a family again. Then everything shifted. We got back to the hotel in Tokyo around 5. I wanted to stay an extra day, process everything. Visit some of Dad's favorite spots in the city. Mom said we should all fly home together the next morning. I insisted. I was 34 years old. I didn't need permission. Finally, she relented, said she understood. Derek would change my ticket for me since he was better with the airline apps. I just needed to give him my passport and documents for safekeeping while I went to shower. I was so stupid, so trusting. By the time I got out of the shower, they were gone. Not just out for dinner, gone, checked out of the hotel. I called Mom, straight to voicemail. I texted Derek. The message showed as read. No response. My stomach dropped. I threw on clothes and rushed down to the lobby. The desk clerk looked at me with pity. "Your family checked out an hour ago," she said. "They left this for you." She handed me an envelope with 5,000 yen inside, maybe $100. I called Mom again. And again. Nothing. I called Derek 15 times. He finally picked up on the 16th. "Sarah," he said, his voice careful. "Mom thinks you need some time alone to process your grief. We'll see you when you get home." "What are you talking about?" I said. "Derek, where's my passport?" "Safe," he said. "We'll give it to you when you're feeling more stable." "Stable?" I said. "Derek, I'm fine. This is insane. You can't just leave me here. You've been acting erratic, Sarah. The crying, the outbursts. Mom's worried about you." "My father just died," I said. "Of course I've been crying. Derek, please, just tell me what's going on." There was a long pause. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "We filed a petition yesterday. For conservatorship. Just temporary. Until you're better." Dr. Morrison agreed to sign off on it. "He's known you since you were a kid. He understands how grief can affect someone's judgment. We're just trying to protect you, Sarah. And protect Dad's estate from any rash decisions you might make." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. The estate, of course. Dad had left everything in a trust. $15 million. The house, his share in the family business. I was the primary beneficiary. Mom and Derek got smaller portions. But if I was declared incapable of managing my affairs... "You planned this," I whispered. "You planned this before we even got on the plane." Derek hung up. I stood in that hotel lobby shaking. No passport, no ticket home. My credit cards were in my wallet, but I'd need ID to book a hotel. I had my phone, but they'd probably cancel our family plan within hours. 5,000 yen wouldn't get me far in Tokyo. I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My family took my passport? They'd tell me to go to the embassy, which was closed until Monday. It was Friday evening. I was alone in a foreign country with almost no money, and a family actively working against me. That's when I fell apart. Right there in the lobby. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. A hotel security guard asked if I was okay, and I couldn't even answer him. I somehow made it outside to the street. The evening air was cool. Tokyo hummed around me, indifferent to my crisis. I sat on a bench and tried to figure out what to do next. That's when he appeared. "Excuse me," he said. American accent. West Coast, maybe. I looked up to see a man in his early 40s. Tall, dark hair graying at the temples, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine," I lied, wiping my face. He sat down next to me. Not too close, respectful distance. You don't look fine. You look like someone just pulled the ground out from under you. Something about his voice, calm and certain, made me crack. I started talking. I don't know why. Maybe because he was a stranger and it didn't matter. Or maybe because I desperately needed someone to hear what was happening to me. I told him everything. The funeral, my family leaving, the conservatorship, how I was stranded here until Monday at the earliest. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'm Marcus Langford, and I think I can help you." "I don't need money," I said quickly. "I just need to figure out how to get to the embassy on Monday." "Not money," he said. "Though I can help with that too. I'm talking about your family situation. I know something about people trying to control you for their own benefit." I looked at him more carefully. There was something in his eyes, understanding, like he'd been where I was. "My family is trying to force me into something I don't want," he said. "They think they know what's best for me. They're wrong." He paused. "I have a proposition for you, Sarah. It's going to sound crazy, but hear me out." That's how Marcus Langford, CEO of Langford Technologies, offered me a deal that would change both our lives. Marry him for 1 year. In exchange, he'd help me fight the conservatorship and give me the legal resources to protect my inheritance. What he got in return was a wife to present to his investors. His company was going public in 6 months. There'd been a messy divorce 2 years ago. His ex-wife had done interviews painting him as unstable and commitment-phobic. His board was worried. Investors wanted to see a stable family man, someone settled, trustworthy. "I know how it sounds," Marcus said. "But think about it. You need legal firepower your family can't match. I have the best attorneys in San Francisco. You need credibility. A powerful ally who can vouch for your competence and stability. I'm that person. And you," he said, "need to get out of Tokyo and back to the States where you can fight this." "What do you get out of this?" I asked. "A year of my family and my board off my back," he said. "Someone I can trust not to sell stories to the press. Someone intelligent enough to actually help me through this IPO process." He looked at me directly. "You're a corporate lawyer, right? Your LinkedIn says so." "You looked me up?" I said. He pulled out his phone and showed me. "While you were talking, I Googled you. Sarah Chen, corporate attorney at Morrison & Wright, Harvard Law. 3 years at the DA's office before going private. You're exactly the kind of person I need." "This is insane," I said. "Yes," he agreed. "But is it any more insane than what your family just did to you?" He had a point. "I'll take you to the U.S. consulate first thing Monday morning," Marcus said. "We'll get you an emergency passport. Then we fly to San Francisco on my plane. You'll have a place to stay while we figure out the conservatorship situation. No strings attached. If after a week you want to walk away, you can. But if you want to make this work, we draw up a contract. 1 year, business arrangement only. We both get what we need." "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "Because I know what it's like when your family turns on you," he said quietly, "and because you remind me of someone. My sister. She trusted the wrong people, and it destroyed her." He stood up. "I'm staying at the Park Hyatt, room 2847. Think about it tonight. Tomorrow morning, if you want my help, meet me in the lobby at 8. We'll get breakfast and I'll explain everything. If you don't show up, no hard feelings. I'll leave an envelope with the concierge. Enough to get you by until Monday." He walked away before I could respond. I sat on that bench for another hour, thinking. This was crazy, getting involved with a stranger. But what choice did I have? My family had abandoned me. They were actively trying to steal my inheritance. And Marcus was right. I needed help. Real help. The kind that came with lawyers and resources. More than that. Something in my gut said I could trust him. Maybe it was desperation, or maybe it was the look in his eyes when he mentioned his sister. Grief recognizes grief. I showed up at the Park Hyatt lobby at 8 the next morning. Marcus was already there, drinking coffee and reading something on his tablet. When he saw me, he smiled. It wasn't a triumphant smile, more like relief. "I'm glad you came," he said. "Let's talk details." Over breakfast, he laid out his situation. Langford Technologies had developed a new cybersecurity platform, major contracts with government agencies. The IPO was projected to value the company at $3 billion, but investors were skittish because of his personal life, the divorce, the tabloid stories his ex had sold, the perception that he was volatile. "I need to show them I'm stable," Marcus said, settled, "that I can be trusted with their money. Having a wife, especially someone with your credentials, changes the narrative." "And after the year?" I asked. "Clean divorce," he said, "already discussed with my lawyers. You walk away with a settlement, $2 million, plus whatever legal fees we incur fighting your family, and you keep anything you earn working for me during that year." "Working for you?" I said. "I need a corporate counsel I can actually trust," he said, "someone who's not trying to position themselves for the board. You'd be perfect, and it gives us a cover story. We met professionally, fell in love, got married quickly, very romantic." I thought about it. $2 million, legal support, a job, and a chance to show my family I wasn't helpless. "Okay," I said, "but I have conditions." "Name them." "Separate bedrooms, no physical relationship. This is business only." "Agreed," he said. "What else?" "I want complete transparency about your company. If I'm going to be your wife, even fake wife, I need to know I'm not fronting for anything illegal or unethical." "My books are open to you," he said. "What else?" "If at any point I feel unsafe or uncomfortable, I can leave. $2 million or not." "Of course," Marcus said. "Sarah, I'm not trying to trap you. I'm trying to help both of us. This only works if we're partners." "Then we have a deal," I said. We shook hands across the table. It felt surreal. 48 hours ago, I'd been scattering my father's ashes. Now I was agreeing to marry a stranger. But as Marcus smiled at me, I felt something I hadn't felt since Dad died. Hope. Monday morning, Marcus took me to the U.S. consulate. He'd made calls, pulled strings. We were seen within an hour. I explained the situation. Family emergency. Lost passport. The consular officer was sympathetic. She issued me an emergency passport valid for 1 year. We flew out that afternoon on Marcus's plane. Gulfstream G, 650. I'd never been on a private jet before. It felt like stepping into a different world. Leather seats, full bar, a bedroom in the back. "You can rest if you want," Marcus said, gesturing to the bedroom. "It's a long flight." I was exhausted, but I couldn't sleep. Instead, I sat across from Marcus and we talked. Really talked. About our families, our lives, what had brought us to this moment. Marcus told me about his sister, Amy. She'd been brilliant, MIT graduate, started her own company. Then she'd gotten involved with someone who convinced her to sign over control of her finances. By the time Marcus found out, Amy had lost everything. The stress triggered a breakdown. She'd died 3 years ago. Overdose. "Accidental," the coroner said. But Marcus blamed himself for not protecting her. "I should have seen it," he said, staring out the window at the clouds. "I should have known he was manipulating her." "You couldn't have known," I said. "I should have," he said. "She was my sister." I told him about my dad, how he'd built his business from nothing, how he'd always protected me and Derek equally. Or so I thought. Apparently Derek had been jealous of me for years. I was Dad's favorite. Got into better schools. Better job. Dad had made me the primary beneficiary because he said I'd earned it. I'd worked at his company every summer through college, learned the business. Derek had partied and barely graduated. "I thought he was over it," I said. "I thought we were good." "Resentment doesn't just disappear," Marcus said. "It ferments." We landed in San Francisco at dusk. Marcus's driver picked us up in a black Mercedes. As we drove through the city, I felt the reality of what I'd agreed to settling in. I was in a strange city, with a man I'd known for 72 hours, about to marry him. "What am I doing?" I whispered. Marcus heard me. "Something smart," he said. "Something brave. You're fighting back." His penthouse was in Pacific Heights, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, minimalist furniture, everything clean and expensive and impersonal. "The guest room is down the hall," Marcus said. "Bathrooms attached. I'll have my assistant bring you some clothes tomorrow." We're about the same size as my sister was. I kept some of her things. "That's okay," I said quickly. "I can buy my own." "Sarah," he said gently, "let me help. Please, I need to do this. I understood. This wasn't just about me. This was about Marcus trying to save someone the way he couldn't save Amy. Okay, I said. Thank you. That night I lay in a bed that cost more than my monthly rent and stared at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. Text from Mom. Sarah, we know you're upset, but this is for your own good. Dr. Morrison agrees you're not in a state to make major decisions. Come home and we'll work through this together. We love you. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started researching conservatorships in California. How they worked, how to fight them, what evidence I'd need. Then I Googled Marcus Langford. Everything checked out. Self-made billionaire. Messy divorce from socialite Christine Winters 2 years ago. She'd done 3 magazine interviews painting him as cold and controlling. His company's IPO was scheduled for March, 6 months away. I found an article about his sister, Amy Langford, dead at 36. The obituary mentioned her work in tech, her degrees, her charitable foundation. It didn't mention how she died. But I found another article. Smaller publication. Accidental overdose. History of anxiety and depression. Estate disputes following her death. So, Marcus knew about families fighting over money. He'd lived it. I closed my laptop and finally fell asleep. The next morning, Marcus's assistant arrived. Her name was Diane, late 50s, efficient, warm. She brought clothes, casual wear, business suits, even shoes in my size. Marcus told me everything, she said as we sat in the kitchen drinking coffee. I just want you to know, I've worked for him for 12 years. He's a good man. What he's doing for you, helping you, that's who he is. He couldn't save Amy. I think maybe he thinks he can save you. I don't need saving, I said. Diane smiled. Good. He doesn't need someone to save. He needs a partner, someone strong. I think you're exactly that. Over the next week, Marcus and I built our story. How we'd met at a legal conference 6 months ago, kept in touch, started dating long distance, fell hard. When my father died and I went to Tokyo, he'd met me there to support me. We'd gotten engaged overlooking the city. Very romantic, very believable. His PR team coached me. What to say, how to say it. Smile when you talk about him. Touch his arm casually. Look at him like he's the most important person in the room. It felt like learning a role in a play. Meanwhile, his lawyers started working on my case. The conservatorship hearing was in 5 weeks. My mother and Derek had moved quickly, but they'd also been sloppy. I found evidence. Emails between Derek and his financial advisor about accessing the trust fund early. Text messages between Mom and Dr. Morrison about how to word his psychiatric evaluation. They'd been planning this for months, probably since right after Dad died. The betrayal cut deeper every time I found something new. Marcus was patient with me. When I'd break down crying over an email where Derek called me stupid and easy to manipulate, Marcus would sit with me, not touching, just present. You're going to beat them, he'd say. We're going to beat them. 2 weeks after I arrived in San Francisco, Marcus proposed. Officially. For the cameras. At a charity gala his company was sponsoring. He'd warned me it was coming, told me exactly when he'd do it. I still wasn't prepared for how real it felt when he got down on one knee in front of 300 people and asked me to marry him. I said yes. The ring was stunning. 5-carat diamond. The crowd applauded. Cameras flashed. Marcus kissed my cheek and whispered, "You're doing great." But I wasn't acting anymore. Somewhere in those 2 weeks, something had shifted. I liked Marcus, respected him, enjoyed working with him. When I reviewed contracts for his IPO, he actually listened to my suggestions. When I presented legal strategies, he took them seriously. He treated me like an equal, like someone capable. My family had never done that. The wedding was 3 weeks later, small ceremony. Just what we needed for the optics. Some board members, key investors. Diane cried real tears. Marcus's mother attended, looking severe and skeptical. She pulled me aside before the ceremony. "I don't know what game you're playing," she said. "But if you hurt my son, you'll regret it." "I'm not playing a game," I said. "And I'm not going to hurt him." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "See that you don't." The ceremony itself was beautiful. Marcus had let me plan it and I'd kept it simple. Garden setting, string quartet, personal vows we'd written together that managed to be both true and believable. I, Sarah, take you, Marcus, as my partner, to support you, respect you, and stand beside you through whatever comes next. I, Marcus, take you, Sarah, as my partner, to protect you, value you, and give you the space to become whoever you're meant to be. When he kissed me, it was brief and chaste, for the cameras, but his hands were shaking slightly. So were mine. "Mrs. Langford," he said when we pulled apart. "Mr. Langford," I replied. We both smiled. For a fake marriage, it felt surprisingly real. The conservatorship hearing was scheduled for the following week. My mother and Derek's lawyers had filed motions, character witnesses, Dr. Morrison's statement. They'd built a case painting me as unstable, grieving, incapable of rational decision-making. Our strategy was simple. Show them who I really was. Capable, employed, married to a respected CEO who could vouch for my competence, and most importantly, show them the evidence of their manipulation. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about facing them, seeing Mom and Derek after everything they'd done. Marcus found me at 2 a.m, sitting in the kitchen. "Can't sleep?" he asked. I shook my head. He sat down across from me. "Want to talk about it?" "I'm scared," I admitted. "What if the judge believes them? What if they win?" "They won't," Marcus said. "Sarah, I've seen the evidence. You've got emails, texts, financial records. They were sloppy because they thought you were helpless, but you're not. You've never been helpless." "I feel helpless," I whispered. Marcus reached across the table and took my hand. It was the first time he'd touched me beyond our staged public moments. His hand was warm and steady. "Listen to me," he said. "You're one of the smartest people I've ever met. You've built a legal strategy in 3 weeks that would take most lawyers 3 months. You've uncovered fraud that the police are now investigating. You've learned my entire business structure and already found ways to improve it. You're not helpless, Sarah. You're extraordinary." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I realized something terrifying. I was falling for him. This wasn't supposed to happen. This was business. But somewhere between the late-night strategy sessions and the morning coffees and the way he listened when I talked about my father, I'd started to care about him. Really care. "Thank you," I said quietly, pulling my hand away before I could do something stupid. The hearing was at 9. We arrived at 8:30. Mom and Derek were already there with their lawyer. Mom looked tired. Derek looked angry. When they saw me walk in with Marcus, something flickered across Derek's face. Fear. "Sarah," Mom said, standing up. "Honey, please, let's talk about this." "We can talk through our lawyers," I said. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Hernandez. She looked stern but fair. She reviewed the petition, asked some questions, then turned to me. "Miss Chen," she said, "I understand you've recently married?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said. "And you're currently employed?" "Yes, as corporate counsel for Langford Technologies." Judge Hernandez looked at Marcus. "Mr. Langford, you're here to speak on your wife's behalf?" "I am," Marcus said. "Sarah is one of the most competent professionals I've ever worked with. She's brilliant, hardworking, and completely capable of managing her own affairs. This petition is without merit." The judge turned back to my mother's lawyer. "Present your case." They did. Dr. Morrison testified that I'd shown signs of depression and erratic behavior following my father's death. My mother testified that I'd been making concerning statements about wanting to quit my job and travel the world indefinitely. Derek testified that I'd given away large sums of money to strangers. All lies. When it was our turn, our lawyer presented the evidence. Emails showing Derek and Mom planning the conservatorship before we'd even left for Tokyo. Text messages discussing how to manipulate Dr. Morrison's assessment. Financial records showing they'd already begun transferring assets from Dad's company into accounts they controlled. Then I testified. I spoke about what happened in Tokyo, how they'd abandoned me, taken my passport, left me stranded. I spoke calmly, clearly, presenting facts without emotion. When I finished, the judge was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "This petition is denied. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney's office for investigation into potential fraud and elder abuse." My mother gasped. Derek's face went white. We won. Outside the courthouse, Mom tried to approach me. Sarah, please. You have to understand. We were scared. The money, the responsibility, we thought. You thought you'd steal my inheritance, I said. You thought I was too weak to fight back. You were wrong. We're your family, Derek said. No, I said. You're people who happen to share my DNA. Family doesn't abandon you in a foreign country. Family doesn't lie about you to steal your father's legacy. I walked away. Marcus beside me. His hand found mine and squeezed. A month later, the DA charged Mom and Derek with fraud and attempted conservatorship abuse. They both took plea deals, probation, restitution. They had to return everything they'd taken from Dad's estate. Derek lost his position in the company. Mom moved to Arizona to live with her sister. I took over as CEO of Dad's company. Turned out I was good at it. Who knew? The IPO happened in March, right on schedule. Langford Technologies stock opened at $80 a share. By the end of the day, it was at $120. Marcus's company was valued at $4.2 billion. We celebrated that night with Diane and the core team. Marcus gave a speech thanking everyone, including his brilliant wife who'd kept him sane through the whole process. When we got home, we sat on the balcony overlooking the bay, drinking champagne. We did it, I said. We did, Marcus agreed. The contract was almost up. 1 more month and we'd file for divorce. I'd get my settlement. We'd go our separate ways. I didn't want to go our separate ways. Marcus, I said, I need to tell you something. He turned to look at me, something unreadable in his expression. I'm in love with you, I said. I know that wasn't the deal. I know this was supposed to be business. But somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you. And I don't want a divorce. I want this to be real. I held my breath, waiting for his response. Marcus set down his champagne glass. Then he started laughing. Not mocking laughter. Relief. Sarah, he said. I fell in love with you the second week you were here. When you found that loophole in the merger contract and saved us $3 million, I've been trying to figure out how to tell you. Really? I said. Really, he said. I don't want a divorce either. I want you to stay, as my actual wife. If you'll have me. Yes, I said. Yes. He kissed me then. Not for cameras. Not for show. Just for us. 3 years later, we're still married. Still partners. Still in love. I run Dad's company. Marcus runs his. We collaborate on projects. We have Sunday dinners with Diane. We visit Amy's grave together every year on her birthday. My mother and I have a careful, distant relationship. We email sometimes. She's apologized multiple times. I've forgiven her, mostly. But I'll never trust her again. Derek and I haven't spoken since the trial. I heard he's working as a car salesman in Phoenix, living with Mom. I wish I could say I felt sorry for them. But I don't. They made their choices. I made mine too. I chose to trust a stranger who offered help when I needed it most. I chose to fight back instead of giving up. I chose love when it appeared in the most unexpected way. The real inheritance my father left me wasn't the money. It was the belief that I was capable of anything, that I deserved respect and love and partnership. Marcus gave me the space to remember that, to become the person I was always meant to be. And that, I learned, is what family actually means. Not the people you're related to by blood, but the people who show up, who fight for you, who see your worth, even when you can't see it yourself. Trust me, the stranger had whispered in Tokyo. They'll regret this. He was right. They did. But more importantly, I found something I didn't know I was looking for. A partner, a love, a real family, and I've never regretted a single moment of it.